Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positive. We are positively into baseball season, which allows me to get the Maryland Crab Cake Tour back out on the road. We'll be at Fadley's next Friday before the Giants game. I'll have Maryland lottery scratch offs. I have the Harlem Globetrotters. I'm looking forward to get my new pack from Roz. I'll have those my next Friday once I get my full health back and my wife's full health back. I appreciate everybody sticking around the last couple of weeks. I've been in South America running around, but baseball has begun. It has been a good start to the season for the Orioles, and it allows me to bring in some of my closest friends. Allen McCallum has been my friend for 30 years at this point, 31, I think, and we're getting up on into our fourth decade of friendship. He, of course, was our baseball reporter for many, many, many years. We like to bring him in here to chat about things. First things first, been very few seasons, and I've known you a lot longer than I've known Luke, where there's going to be a season. They're a competitive team. They have a chance. Now, how it goes, it's baseball. Who knows, right?
Sure.
Five really good starting pitchers. They got a lineup that's real. They have youth. They have veterans. They have Alonso. They blah, 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 blah. They put bullpen guy in and Helsley. Even though the bullpen's a mess, defense can be a mess, all that. But I can't think of a time, and I've talked to you for a long time, and I just did an hour with Mark Messina as well, where on Sunday night, at the end of the first series, when the Twins managers get himself thrown out arguing with the machine, that I wouldn't have told you that I would have liked ABS baseball. You and Luke had more of a conversation amongst yourselves that day. It cost us a month and a half ago. We got together
Right.
for some crab cakes. And I see it in spring training, and it's like the pitch clock thing. It was like it's a novelty till it happens. And then when it happens, it's ultra competitive because you're getting real games, not spring training games. Dude, I'm 5 minutes into this ABS thing, and I've been talking about it all week. And if you're watching the games, my wife and I sat on Sunday in a close game. Now, Saturday was the shadows, and opening day's opening day, and it's opening day, right? But Sunday was the game where it got into the bullpen, it got into your lead, my lead, their lead, your lead, my lead, your bad bullpen, my worst bullpen, my bad defense, your phantom tags, all sorts of things were going on. But my
Right.
wife is getting sick as a dog from a cold I gave her. And we both sat here and she's like, this is more interesting. And I'm like, yeah, this is way more interesting. And that's why they need to add a third one because everybody needs to have one in the ninth inning. Um, boy, they made baseball better. And I text you and I text every nerd I knew who loves baseball and said, my God, they've made baseball better. And I thought they did this, Alan, to get rid of the umpires. They're never going to get rid of the umpires because this creates an interesting conflict. And if they just had a box that said it's a ball and a box that said it's a strike, it wouldn't be like American Idol. It wouldn't be good TV anymore.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, it certainly creates some drama and some unexpected controversies. It turned out for the Twins the other day. Um, on more than one occasion you've said on an August afternoon when the Orioles were out of it, who's watching the Padres and the Pirates go at it on this day in August, and I would raise my hand and say I am because I love baseball. But yeah, it's a sport that in the 21st century doesn't move as fast as a lot of people like. It's a sport where they create more and more things around the ballparks so that the people that are there just to hang out with their friends and drink beer can go and entertain themselves if the game doesn't interest them. You're creating a situation that keeps eyes attached to the game if it's close because every strike really does matter in this moment in a way that I wouldn't say it is more tangible, but it's different. It does create an attribute of theater to the whole thing. Yeah,
You like it?
I like getting the calls right. And let me say this: it's clear that umpires, by and large, are better than we generally give them credit for being. But how many times have we seen the catcher raise the ball 3 inches back into the strike zone and the umpire calls it and everybody loses their mind? Or Greg Maddox and Tom Glavine it would be a different world for them, particularly Tom Glavine, in the sense that great pitchers get we've I've heard you say it. I know I've said it. Great pitchers get calls that other pitchers don't get. And in theory, if you have a good catcher, the ABS system, if not eliminates, certainly reduces that quality. It makes everybody more equal. And I am absolutely for the game being equal for everybody. If you're a bad pitcher and you have a good day, but your reputation says you can't hit the corner, and the umpire calls it like that, a good catcher says, "I'm sorry, that's a strike." That makes a difference. That makes all the difference in those games, right? Bases loaded, 2-2. You throw a ball, you throw a strike, umpire calls it a ball in the corner. Catcher says that's a strike, game. Oh, that's the end of the inning, right? I mean, that's the ball game. So yeah, I don't know how you can't like getting the calls right, being fair, and having it be more equal for all the players on the field.
It's a lot of pressure on the batter, especially early in a game, to waste one. And
Yeah,
you don't want to be the guy going back to the dugout and the manager says, "Dude, I'm taking away your privilege to even invoke it." Or if the manager says first 5 innings, we're not challenging things, or like I don't. They haven't given them enough. Two's not enough. I think they need three.
right.
But I didn't think I'd like it. I didn't. Honestly, I've been in South America the last couple of weeks, and with the state of the country, and I know you were out doing No King's March. Peace to you. I was sick as a dog. My wife's sick as a dog. She didn't even do it. There are more important things to think about now that I'm into baseball season and I'm watching it, and I'm like, this might be the best thing they've ever done. I mean, like, and that's I've been on the air 35 years. This has made the game more interesting, and there have not been a lot of innovations that have done that.
Yeah, I mean, what happened the other day, right? I guess what happened is that Shelton was looking for the catcher to call it, and the pitcher called for it. So he's looking at the catcher, and he says he didn't call it in time, but Helsley called for it right away. I mean, almost as soon as he saw that it was called a ball, he called for it. So, I mean, it's where you're looking, where the ball actually lands, what the game situation is. I don't know if I'm a manager. I think every team has to have a philosophy about this now, right?
Oh
I
my
don't.
God. And it's going to be moving too. It's not, you know what I mean? They're going to be
Right.
changing their philosophy as situations dictate.
And you're exactly. So, like you mentioned, not in the first 5 innings, but if you have the bases loaded in the third inning, and you have any hitter up in a good count, and the pitch can sway it one way or the other. Maybe you say you are more cautious in the early innings, but that situation, if you think you're going to get the call right, you make that call. You've got situational awareness, right? If this is football, isn't that when to use a penalty, when to take the penalty? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, my point is that baseball is a game that strategies is important, and it's a moment for the game to really start figuring out how they're going to do things. But yeah, Orioles and Twins on a Sunday afternoon. It was the last couple of innings, and let's be clear: the Twins had used all their challenges, and there were at least 2 or 3 pitches in those last couple of innings that they could have used a challenge and probably gotten it right, and they didn't have one. So the
And
game
they'll
changed.
want that to happen again.
Yeah.
That's a
So
lesson learned for the manager who got himself thrown out in his third ball game.
So, I mean, the philosophy is going to evolve as you get further into the seasons. But again, I'm going to jump back to equality. Like Yankees and White Sox in August, the Yankees are in contention. The White Sox aren't. And historically, Yankees are tend to get the calls, or at least that's the way we perceive it. And the ABS makes it more level for everybody if you know how to if you use it the right way. So
the preferred strike zone of Greg Maddux.
I think it's good for the game. And maybe the most important thing for the game is that it's quick. If it took a minute in between every pitch,
it wouldn't be improving the game.
it wouldn't work. But it's coming really quickly, and I think that's a great thing.
You went to opening day, Alan. Give me a little scouting report. How's your sister? And I saw you went out and it was full, and I wanted to go, and then I just fell apart. I mean, I was just a disaster on Thursday and Friday and Saturday around here. Um, new scoreboard. I didn't look like you were in the truest club lounge. But you were back out there. Certainly a lot of energy. I like the team. And I've told you that. I think they're going to win 92 games.
It was a great day. Like 80 degrees. It was beautiful outside. Everybody was pumped up. It's been a while since you sort of felt that energy. Well, yeah, it certainly didn't come last year. And through the end of 24, things weren't quite as pumped up. But everybody was enthused, and there was a lot of energy. It was a really good day. I like the club. We talked about the bullpen before the season got started, and I think there's room to question that. We talked about the defense before the season got started, and there's room to be concerned about that. We're talking about innovations in the game. I hate the lineups that he's been putting that Albert has been putting out there. They're deeply into the analytics, the way they set it up. It's become clear to me that the way lineups used to set up, it created situations where even your weaker hitters were often, your weakest hitter was a number 9, and you sort of lived with that. But let's take Manny Machado, for example. You got a young player coming up in the majors, and you believe he's going to be good, but you want to get him some pitches. So you put him in the number 2 spot early on between a quality hitter and a guy who knows how to get on base, so that he gets more pitches to see, right? You don't know what this kid's going to do. He hasn't been established yet. It created situations where young guys got better pitches, or in some situations, it may create a situation where a hitter who isn't as strong is going to get better pitches to hit because you'd rather face him than the quality leadoff hitter or the number 3 hitter. And it helped balance the lineup. It helped everybody along the way. Today's lineups create situations where your first 3 hitters are your best players, period, and then the lineup literally gets weaker as you get further down. And guys that could use some help, that could use some support, are left out on their own. It speaks to the belief that WAR is a real stat, which I don't really think it is. It speaks to the idea that every player is an individual in a baseball lineup, and I believe and can show examples of players who were made better by the lineups they were in. Guys like Scott Brocious in the Yankees lineup when they were winning world championships on a yearly basis, right? Guys that when you put them in lineups with other teams, they weren't particularly special, but because they were the weaker guy in the Yankee lineup, the guy that you'd rather pitch to, they got better pitches. And I say that to say the way the Orioles are stacking their lineup right now, it hangs the 6, 7, and 8 guys out to dry, because either they're good or they're not. They're not going to get any help from any quality players around them. And I think that you leave runs and opportunities on the table when you do that. And I think you shoot your shot if Aaron Judge is batting second and the number 2 spot at the beginning of the game, he hits a home run, great. It's a solo home run. Where if he's batting 3rd or 4th and you have a couple guys on, that's an additional run or 2. The way that lineups are being built now, I really think leave a lot of runs on the table, or potential runs on the table. And the way the Orioles are setting their lineup right now, I think is ultimately going to weaken their opportunities. Now, Saturday and Sunday, it was cold outside. You had the shadows. There were a lot of things going on. I think it's unfair to judge the offense based on that, particularly on Saturday. But in the long run, I think that they're gonna have to figure out something else, because this lineup is not set up to succeed.
That's an interesting. I mean, I didn't even know we were going there, but I'm thinking about what the 2-hole used to represent, and I would agree with you, but there is a part of modern baseball which is either strike out or hit a home run. So
exactly,
it doesn't really matter.
Right. It's 3 true outcome baseball: walk, home run, strikeout. And the number 2 guy used to be a guy who either was really good at getting on base, or was good at moving a runner into scoring position, doing little things that would help the number three, who is generally the best hitter, and number four, who is the probably the one with the most
Well,
power.
and the two hitter would see strikes because they were afraid of the 3 and 4.
This is my
Period.
point. This is my point. So, yes, Aaron Judge gets an extra at bat because he's hitting further up the lineup. Gunnar Henderson gets an extra at bat in theory because they're hitting closer to the top of the lineup. But how many runners? How many runners would they have a chance to drive in if there was another guy in front of them that got on base? So it's a philosophy change for the sport. And
it's not a complimentary lineup. It's made by ChatGPT.
That is exactly what I believe. Yes.
Allen McCallum is here. He thinks about baseball a lot. He's been doing that for all the 30 years that I've known him. How do you feel about the team? How do you feel about the pitching?
It's really early. You would have loved to see Bradish and Boz come out and throw 7 shutout innings like Rogers did. None of them have looked stellar early on. Rogers got out of situations that he created for himself. Bradish, the first couple innings looked great and then didn't. Boz got better, I guess, as he went through the game, but he didn't go deep. It's early. I'm not judging anybody by their first start. I believe that there's quality in this rotation. I believe that are there better rotations in the American League East? Yes. I take the Red Sox rotation. I take the Yankees rotation once Cole and Rondon get in there, get back up to the majors, recovering from injury. But the Orioles rotation can compete with any team in baseball. I mean, I believe that. So we'll see how it shakes out. I think we all know that in modern baseball, 5 guys in a rotation isn't going to cut it, particularly when a couple of them are coming off of injuries that they need to recover from, and you want to care for them slowly. And the days of every pitcher going 100 pitches deep into a start doesn't exist anymore. So it'll have to be managed. And we don't know anything about Albernaz in that situation. And we certainly know Elias in the front office will have their hand in that as well. But as everybody else has said, the pitcher that was their most consistent and threw the most innings last year is in AAA right now, which speaks to something about the way that the team is at this point. And I'm excited to see them compete.
Bullpen concerns me, though.
We'll know a lot in the first few weeks, right? I mean, the competition that they're going up against early isn't necessarily the cream of the crop in baseball. So if they're 5 to 7 games over 500, you'll feel a little better than if they're at 500 coming through it. So, I think the first 3 weeks will tell us a lot about this club and what they need to do.
Bullpen. I mean, I think Helsley's going to be okay. It was good to see Cano do something, over the weekend. The Nunez thing's interesting to me. But the bullpen, I'm going to let it breathe. And if they blow 3 games in the first month, they blow 3 games in the first month. I won't shock me. I know the defense is, I'm snow cones out there throwing to the wrong bases. I think they're going to be adequate on their best day. They're going to make errors. All that being said, I think they're going to bop the baseball a little bit, and I think the starters can hang into the 5th or 6th inning. And for that, I think they're going to have a chance to win.
Okay, bullpen. We all believed that Elias should have done more with the bullpen, but here's the thing: the Los Angeles Dodgers last year went out and got a couple of the best arms they could find for the bullpen. And at the end of the year, they had to throw starters out of there because none of it worked out. Bullpens are the most volatile part of any baseball team. You can think you have an A-class bullpen, and you can be scratching to find people to fill it in July. So if you tell me that Elias should have done more to fortify the bullpen, I agree with you, and I accept that. That said, if you tell me he's put guys in, and let's be where Kittredge and Aiken are not there right now, so a lot will be determined by how quickly they get back guys that you that have a track record and you feel decent about. If you tell me that he built a bullpen where he wants to see what some guys can do early, and that in theory should be able to hold on enough to get them to July, and that at the somewhere around the trade deadline, he will fortify the bullpen with the guys out there on teams that aren't contending, that you can trade for and get to help strengthen your bullpen for the stretch in the postseason.
Guys are actually doing it at the moment, not right.
In the moment. If you tell me that's the plan, I'm on board for that. That makes sense to me. The trick is you can't have your season get lost early because you didn't have enough guys to help you win now. So that's a dance. It's an interesting dance. We'll see what happens. Tyler Wells gave up some runs this weekend. I believe that he's going to be a strong piece. I'd really love to see Cano bounce back. I'm not sure that Cano's the guy I'm going to bring in at this point in the season anyway, with 2 runners on and less than 2 outs to get outs. He's just wild enough that you could walk the bases loaded and get in trouble. But we'll see. He certainly has more track record than some of the other guys in the pen they're throwing out there. So yeah, they've got a lot of things to figure out, and the bullpen is probably the scariest part. Defensively, Kobe Mayo's made some great plays at third base already. Do I think he's going to win a Gold Glove? No, I do not. But if he can hold it down and he can hit, let's go for it. Probably left and center field are the scariest places right now. Left field in particular. I've said this to you for years. I believe it wholeheartedly. When the Orioles respect the defense that is required in left field, they're better. I can make an argument that it may be more important to put your best defensive outfielder in left field at Camden Yards than in center. It is deeper from line to gap. You have more territory to cover, and you can't just put a plotter out in left field. Angles, the throw, all those things are going to help determine what this team can do.
Taylor Ward kicking the ball around to start the weekend was not good.
And look, he hadn't played there regularly. I'm not throwing him under the bus at this moment. I'm just saying that the management of defense in left field may be the most important thing at home in Camden Yards that the Orioles can figure out. And you just can't say we'll live with what we get. It doesn't work that way out there. The defense hasn't killed them yet. We'll see what happens.
Allen McCallum is our guest. He's our longtime baseball insider. He's been my friend for a million years, and we love talking baseball. It is a baseball season around here, and a rare baseball season where we have a chance. And we're spending money, Allen. Shane Boz and making that investment. Dude, it ain't my money, but certainly this is not the Angelos clan running the team anymore.
No. And look, we've heard for at least the last couple of years, Elias is failing because he hasn't signed any of his guys. A lot of the guys on this team are represented by Scott Boras, Ness. They don't sign early. They just don't. So why would you indict your general manager or the guy, your president of baseball operations, for not being able to sign Scott Boras clients early? Almost nobody does that. But if you sign the guys you can sign, let's go for it.
Or sign the guys you want to sign, right?
Absolutely. And here's a case I'll make for a Scott Boras client. There's no better time to sign Jordan Westburg, if you believe in him, than right now, where he's injured. He's coming off. He's entering a season injured again. I think we all believe that when he's healthy, he is a player that can impact a team. Maybe not an MVP, but he's the next guy in theory. I think we all believe that. Versatile, plays decently at third base and at second base, and carries himself in a way that I think a lot of people in this town like. Unfortunately, he hasn't been healthy. But if you believe in Jordan Westburg, even though he's a Scott Boras client, you say, here's what I want to do. I want to sign you for 5 years at, I don't know, $15 million. If you're Jordan Westburg, wouldn't you have to listen to that? I mean, I understand that Gunnar Henderson. There's no reason for Gunnar Henderson to sign a contract with the Orioles or anybody else for that matter at this moment in his career. But if you're Jordan Westberg, and you believe in him, you believe that he's going to end up recovering and be good, or maybe you wait until he is healthy. I'd explore that territory. It's about the players you believe in. But the point is, they've signed Basayo, they've signed Boz. They believe that these players are going to impact long term, and ultimately it will save them some money on the back end, because I think we've all seen how dramatically salaries in baseball have escalated over the last decade. I don't know how you could say that's not a good deal.
Allen McCallum's here. We are talking baseball, thinking baseball, and on the baseball front. I know you're a Jeremiah Jackson guy, and guys that hit the ball. The Blaze Alexander kid. I mean, there's just so there were only 6 of these guys on the opening day roster last year. So many new guys. Anything stuck out at you that you like? You got a favorite yet or anything like that?
It's really too early for that. Look, I mean, Jeremiah Jackson might go through his career hitting 120, but I like the way he approaches his at bats. I like the way the ball comes off his bat. He looks like he hits line drives. He makes contact. He seems to have an approach at the plate that makes sense. I've seen Blaze Alexander, one full game. He got a big hit and an at bat or two here or there. Way too early to be seen. They say he's good defensively. I believe that. It's great to have a guy who can run around the field, infield and outfield. Mateo was a guy you believed in his glove on the infield, but you put him in center field and it was, you're hiding your head, right? There are a few things that are more useful in baseball than a good player who can play in a lot of positions and bring you quality at most or all of them. So I've got no problem with Blaze Alexander. We'll see what kind of hitter he matures into. Yeah, these are guys that I like. And if you're going to start with Holiday and Westberg on the shelf, I think Kobe Mayo offensively has a chance to really impact this club. I'm glad they didn't trade him away. I think they can figure this out with him. I like Jeremiah Jackson. Whether there's room for him on this club, I don't know. If with the amount of left-handed hitters that they have in this organization, I'm not a huge platoon fan, but it may prove that they really need to do that if you find out that some of your left-handed hitters just can't handle going up against the toughest left-handed pitchers in baseball. And let's face it, quite a few of them are in the American League East. So you certainly have to figure out if they can play and where to play them if they can. So it sounds a lot like the Orioles are still rebuilding, and in a lot of ways, that's what Elias is best at. I think we have to get used to. There's always going to be sort of tinkering because he wants to figure the next guy out. But I like the players that they've got right now enough to say, let's give it a shot and see what they can do.
I like the fact that they have a major league pitcher on the mound every night. That's where they are. They're not trying out Norfolk guys, and for that, I think they'll have a chance to win every night. Allen McCallum is my dude. I will see you. We're going to do a ball game sometime, okay?
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it. My dude, Allen McCallum. I am Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570. Towson, Baltimore. Talk a lot of baseball around here. Luke and I'll get some football in, too, because they're going to draft some football players later in the month. Stay with us. We're WNST.